What's a clear sign that someone liked you, but you didn't realize it until later? This is the story of the two guys who liked me in high school, and I didn't know about it. We're going to call one Charlie and the other guy Mike. Charlie and I were in band and gym together. He was a trumpet and I was a saxophone. His best friend was Mike, also in band with us, also a saxophone, just like me. Actually, Mike was the person I shared a stand with, and Charlie, Mike, and I all hung out together during band. Then Charlie and I would hang out together during gym, and then Mike and I would hang out together during saxophone get togethers. We had frequent saxophone parties. I don't really know why now. Anyway, Charlie and Mike and I are all super nerdy. So Charlie liked puns and doing impressions, so one time he asked me out, and I thought it was an impression, so I just laughed. Then a few weeks later, he asked me out again. I told him I was busy that day because I was, and I still hadn't realized he wanted to date me. Then he asked me to go to a movie with him, and I realized, oh, maybe this is a date. And I panicked because I didn't like him that way, but I wanted to stay friends with him because he was super funny and great. So I told him I wasn't allowed to hang out with just boys, and I invited him to my church youth group and my study session for finals. He came to my study session, we watched The Iron Giant and studied. It was pretty fun. Then he came to my youth group, and then he never talked to me ever again. A week or two later, I noticed that Charlie and Mike also weren't talking to each other anymore, and that Charlie would walk away from me every time I came near him. I asked Mike, and he said, oh, he had a crush on you, but you rejected him, and now he says it hurts too much to be near you. I was, of course, like an idiot, shocked, because somewhere in my brain, I hadn't figured out yet that, well, he liked me. I'd connected that he wanted to date me, but for some reason, I didn't think about how obviously he must like me if he wanted to date me. So for the next 3 years of high school, I tried to get him to be my friend, all the while I was still friends with Mike, who eventually became friends with Charlie again. After college, I moved back home for a year and I reached out to Mike about hanging out because he also lived in town again. Mike was all for it and we hung out a lot. One day, he admitted to me that he liked me and he had all throughout high school, and that I had caused a rift between him and Charlie. I had absolutely no idea that he liked me. He was just always joking with me and saying I was nice and he would drive me places if I asked, and he loaned me his personal copies of his favorite book series. So I should have picked up on it, but for some reason I didn't. And then he asked me out after college, and I had just had a kind of a huge breakup. I'd been dating someone for 3 years. So I thought maybe the person has been here all along, but we dated for a month and he texted me one day and said, I don't feel a spark. And I was like, me either. And then like a week later, I ended up meeting the person who is now my husband. So flash forward half a year and I've moved out into my own apartment and I'm looking for furniture. Well, Mike texts me, we're still friends, saying he has an old couch, it's free, do I want it? And of course I do. We arrange stuff, he brings it over, and he and my, at the time, boyfriend, now my husband, move the couch into my apartment. I thank him and we hang out for a while, and then Mike leaves. Then my husband says, so, yeah, that guy has a crush on you. And I go, what? And he's like, it was really obvious. Anyway, yeah, that's Charlie and Mike, the two guys who liked me that somehow I missed the signs for not once, not twice, but 5 times altogether. I mean, obviously, when a person's not into you, they're just not gonna see the signs either, am I right? But I like how her hubby sees them, though, and like, why is that? More often than not, it's always other people, like our best friends or husbands or boyfriends or girlfriends or wives, who see other people who's crushing on us, but just never us who actually see it. What's up with that? Story 2. So I was at a house party with some friends a few years back. I went to the kitchen to get a drink, fully intending to get back to my friends immediately. An attractive girl I had never met sparked up a conversation with me by complimenting my shirt that had some sort of design on the front, though I can't remember exactly what it was. And we talked for about 5 minutes, talking and laughing at each other's jokes. And at this point, I should clarify that although I've gotten better, I have always been a very oblivious person when it comes to people flirting with me. So this girl starts asking me questions like if I was there with my girlfriend. And when I said no, she started getting a little bit more touchy. And the only thing that went through my head was, wow, she's a really physical person. And that's it. After a few minutes of that, I told her I needed to get back to my friends and that it was nice talking to her. She looked genuinely confused and just said, oh, okay. I went back to my friends in the living room who were watching the whole thing unfold. My friend, Mitch, looked at me with a face of pure disappointment and said 7 words I will never forget. Dude, the hell are you doing? It then dawned on me that she was blatantly hitting on me. I turned to see if she was still in the kitchen, but she was already gone. Story 3. For me, it was my girlfriend at the time's younger sister. There were three different occasions. The first two happened while my girlfriend wasn't in the room, and the last one happened when the sister and her boyfriend were on the couch. Here they are. My girlfriend had gone upstairs to her room to do something, and me and her sister were in the living room. She was a volleyball player and saying her back was sore, so she asked me to rub it for her. Being the nice guy that I am, I obliged. She was seated on the floor and I was on the couch, so she sat and I rubbed her shoulders and back. About 30 minutes of this, she sweetly thanked me and then got up. Second, we were out at the pool in their backyard, and again, it was just me and her. She had her suit on and the body to go with it. We were discussing how the pool drain system works, God knows why. And she got down and looked over her shoulder at me, pretending to look at the drain, and gave me the greatest smile. My memory of this one is so clear. And finally, third, she was making out with her boyfriend on the couch. She looked over at me, sitting in the chair across the room, and pulled her skirt. My girlfriend came downstairs a little after that, and then she readjusted her clothing. Now, I can't really count this as a miss sign because it was pretty obvious, but it just added to the rest. Now, all this being said, I'm a total idiot for missing these signs. However, I never pressed with my girlfriend's sister and was actually married to this girlfriend for 20 years. We divorced, and a few years later, her sister sent me a friend request on Facebook where we do interact occasionally. I'm married again, though, so I have no plans to play with this girl, but the guy in me just goes, ugh, whenever I think about her. Story 4. There was this Domino's pizza stand at the community college I went to. Nothing fancy. They just had a couple of pizzas and hot bags below the counter and would charge like $2 a slice. Then they would pack it up and leave when they ran out. Anyways, this pretty cute girl was usually working it, and I'd sit at a table right in front of it because there weren't usually a ton of people around and I could play on my phone or do homework. Of course, I'd get a slice of pizza or two and eat while I sat there. We ended up chatting every day I was there, just shooting the stuff, nothing special. And after a while, she started throwing an extra slice on my plate when I ordered, and eventually she stopped charging me at all. Of course, my young, oblivious self with no self-esteem was just like, wow, sweet, free food and someone to chat with. Towards the end of the semester, we were talking one day, and she told me that they weren't going to be doing the stand the following semester. And I was just like, damn, that sucks, and asked her what was going to happen. This poor girl practically begged me to make a move, but I was just too freaking stupid to see it. I was talking about the pizza stand with a buddy of mine years later who started at that JUCO after the stand was gone. I was telling the story in my interactions with this girl and was like, yeah, she was super cool and used to give me free pizza. And I stopped mid-sentence and looked at nothing in particular and said, oh my God, she had a crush on me. So if you're out there, Northwest MS Domino's girl, I am so sorry I was so freaking dense back then. It wasn't anything against you, I'm just really dumb. Like, damn, she gave you free food, man, and she was a keeper already. Oh, and since you are already halfway through the video, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out, it keeps me going, and it keeps these stories going too. So let's get to the next one. This is story 5. I had a girl that I had a crush on the summer before my freshman year. She was pretty quiet, but we were in musicals together and would hang out pretty often because of that huge time commitment. I asked her to go grab ice cream at one point and she said she was busy, so I took it as a rejection. So about a month passes and I have a crush on someone new and I'm at homecoming. The girl from the summer is there, as is new crush. A slowish song comes on and I go to ask new crush to dance. She rejects me and I heartbrokenly start to walk to the door to go get some air or whatever. On the way out, summer girl comes up and asks if I'm dancing there with anyone and I say no and just freaking leave. One of my buddies followed me out and lit me up for being an idiot about the whole situation. I went back in and summer girl was nowhere to be found. I learned later that she had left in tears and I was freaking crushed. She was so shy and quiet that it must have taken so much for her to approach me like that, and I just shoved her aside like she was nothing. Story 6. My boss's face became red and had like the biggest smile ever when I talked about inviting her to the dinner I was going to have for my birthday. She also became extremely sad when I said that I liked another woman. It wasn't until I stopped liking the other woman that I realized that my boss liked me. Worst part is that the other woman didn't care for me in that sense at all. She's still a good friend though. Someone asked if I asked her out after I realized. I did, and she said yes, but we agreed that we would go out when things got back to normal, and sometime after that, we just stopped talking. Just life things. Nothing good or bad, just life. I asked if I should text her to ask her out again, and people told me to go for it, so I promise I'd do it today. And I texted her over 2 hours ago and I asked her out again. She said yes, but said she also didn't know when it's going to happen because she's afraid of how people outside are not careful. I not only respect that opinion, but I also share it because of one particular experience I had to go through. So, one last thing is that some people seem concerned about how dating a boss is dangerous. She isn't my boss anymore. I suppose I should have started there. She and I worked at a stadium during NBA games, and as soon as the season was canceled, we both obviously lost our jobs. Story 7. Hanging out with my good friend, and keep in mind, I had a huge crush on her. But I always kept my distance because she had this long distance relationship, and I'd like to think I'm a good guy. We were waiters, and we'd often close up at 11, walk down Main Street with a lot of our coworkers, and have a drink at the later night spots. And she started inviting me over to spend the night often because she had this downtown apartment close by. She was 4'11, I'm 6'3, and we were tossing a few beers back just chatting in her kitchen. She then proceeded to wrap her arms and her legs around me, from the back at first, and then she spun around all playful and gripped my waist pretty hard, hugged me hard, and for a good minute or two, breathing heavily. And I was just laughing, pried her off of me, made some stupid comment about her being a cute little monkey, and I walked out the door like 5 minutes later saying I should probably get on home because she was staring at me in stunned silence all of a sudden. And I literally had no clue why, and I felt uncomfortable. I was walking down the stairs of her apartment, and she ran out on my way and threw her beer bottle at me. Believe it or not, I was just really honestly simply confused, and it didn't hit me until I was halfway home exactly what I had done. I never got a second chance. Well, I can see why he never got a second chance. I mean, come on. A woman literally throws themselves at you, and all she gets in return from you is a comment about how she's, quote, a cute little monkey. Well, duh. Story 8. Dawn, that was her name, met her in college as we were in a class together. Now, if you were all watching us like a TV show, you'd be screaming at me at all the damn signs she was giving me. And I was just oblivious to every damn one of them. Now, part of the reason is I felt a bit disoriented after serving in the Navy for 4 years, putting me older than most other students, and another because I never, ever, ever would think a girl would be that interested in me. And the worst part about all of this is she told me the last day of the semester before she left the college for one closer to home. Her words exactly, I loved you the first day I met you because you seemed so different, charming, and grown up, but I hated you didn't see how much I loved you. Here's another token of that love. Then she leaned up, kissed and hugged me, and left crying. Making it hurt even worse is I actually liked her too. She was cute, smart, and caring. Now, I don't have regrets in my life, but my goodness, I so freaking wish a time machine were real so I could undo the hurt this girl went through at my expense. I still remember you, Dawn, even after all these years. And that's how much you meant to me. Story 9. So, I had a few what the hell moments. I was kind of shy, but kind of confident too. And I didn't date until after school, but during that time, I was just a freaking idiot sometimes. Here are a few examples. I was a kid who would get to class early because I hated the crowded halls and tried to take a nap. So one day I decided to try to nap with my hands under my chin with my head up. So if the teacher asked me something, I could just open an eye and be like answering blah blah blah. It was before class and I got this feeling like someone was right in front of me, so I opened my eyes. And this little short cutie pie was like 2 inches from my face. I didn't bat an eye or anything, and she didn't move either. And she said, "You're cute when you sleep. What would you have done if I kissed you while you're like that?" I go, "I don't know, nothing. I'm just trying to catch some Z's." And as I close my eyes again, 2 seconds later, she starts kissing me as I kiss a little back. I don't know how long, and I didn't open my eyes either, just kept trying to nap. LOL. She ended up asking me to the school dance, but I had to turn her down because I had a baseball game. Looking back, I totally should have dated her. SMH. Story 10. Damn. This one hurts. I had a coworker in a coffee shop I used to work at. The most beautiful girl I'd ever met inside and out. I used to joke with one of our mutual coworkers that I would marry her in a heartbeat if I ever got the chance. And we became really good friends, would go on midnight drives, sing songs the whole time, go look at the stars while sitting on the roof, And we would go out and get lunch together and do art in her apartment and talk for hours and hours about the things in life that others just can't share. The whole shebang, really, in retrospect, but I just lacked the confidence to ever ask her out formally. I was so afraid that she just valued my friendship and that by asking her out, I would cross some invisible line and lose all that time that I cherished with her. I never ever made a move. Time passed and she began dating someone else, a freaking saint of a man. And I myself just fell into a cycle of unfulfilling relationships. And then years later, I'm talking to our mutual coworker who I was still friends with. It turns out, after I stopped working there, he asked her if she ever liked me in that way, and she did. So I had a chance with a woman I can now only dream of, and now she's married to the saint, and here I am alone sharing one of my deepest and most painful regrets on the internet. Story 11. I was in a sulky and lonely mood one Sunday, and I went out to the store to do some grocery shopping, which usually cheers me up for some reason. Seeing as I was feeling lazy, I threw on a too small for me super old t shirt with Kirby on it, and I popped in some earbuds. When I was in a freezer aisle, one of the employees restocking locked eyes with me and walked over to say she liked my shirt. Strangers talk to me a lot. I don't leave the house without having at least one rando approach me to chat about something trivial or strange. They always have, and I tried to end the conversation several times. So she just kept talking, mentioning that she liked my tattoos and that I painted my nails. She asked if she could help me find anything, and I said no, growing frustrated as to why she was so persistent. I thought she was actually really attractive, but I had grown so accustomed to bystanders approaching me that everything she said just went in one ear and out the other. Now, I managed to escape, and when I got back to my car, I explicitly remember feeling the melancholy set in, thinking, I wish I could find someone like that cute Kroger employee, then actively face palming myself. I'm just always my own worst wingman. LOL. Story 12. Where to start? First, girl I didn't really know well baked a cake for my birthday in high school. She later asked me to the prom, and I said yes. Second, girl asked me to spend a weekend at her family's lake house with emphasis that her parents would only be there for a few hours and we would have quote unquote privacy. I have no idea what my excuse was for that one. Girl jumped me in a college stairwell a few months later. Third, girl invited me over to her dorm room late one night and told me her roommate was gone until the morning. Girl talks about how into physical intimacy she is and likes being upfront about it. I leave after a polite amount of time. Mutual friend later tells me what the girl's intentions were. There were regrets. I consider myself an average looking guy, and I seem to have a blind spot when it comes to advances from girls I just deem out of my league. Well, if you like these stories and you can totally relate to one or more of them, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this one. I'll catch you in that video, and thank you for watching this one.